For my dogs.
I'll hit mute somehow. Okay, guys, I'm going to just hit mute off for a little bit. We just finished our 3A1, so we're kind of blowing through these 30 minutes at a time so we can get everybody in. I'm going to hit mute and then talk about what we're going to talk about. Notice there's a little chat window. If you open the chat on your screen, you'll see it pop up to the right, I believe. Your screen will not look like mine because I've got it on share screen. So what we want you to do as we're going through today is type questions in the chat, and then we can address them as they come up. If you want to share your video, you can, and that way we can see you and you can see each other kind of on your panel. That'll probably be on the top. You can also hit gallery view, and that way everybody that's in, all their faces pop up. Not like mine, kind of, because mine's different. You guys could do a true gallery. Okay? So what we kind of want to talk about today is the kind of process for what classes are going to look like for us. It's similar to all your classes. Then we'll talk about, this is for sophomores specifically, but freshmen, it impacts you too, how the AP exam has changed for this year only. And then after that, we'll have time for any and all questions you might have. Okay? So to make it easier on parents and families who have multiple kids at different schools in Frisco, every school will have a page that looks like what you see on my screen, where every teacher is linked by name. And then when you click on your teachers, it'll pull you over to what you guys have seen us put up into Google Classroom as well. This little template for assignments. Okay? So all the assignments for this week and next week, and if we have to keep trucking this way, they'll be in here as well. We'll still use Google Classroom, but this is where you're going to find everything you need instead of separate Google Classroom posts. Okay? So if you're confused, anything that's already put in Google Classroom that we did before spring break, like I put those 3 different chapter readings in, I didn't delete them because they're already there, but I took the due dates away because we're not assigning those. So, and I'll talk about why we're not assigning them in a minute. But they're there if you need further resources. Okay? So from now on, the only thing you're doing for us will appear in these templates. So what you got to be aware is everything is due Sunday night at midnight. But we're structuring these lessons in 2 parts. So obviously, if you don't do the Monday through Wednesday stuff until Sunday at midnight, then it's not really possible to do the second half. So think of that second half due date, midnight on Sunday, as for the Thursday through Friday component. Okay? We've been told, and every teacher in Frisco has been told this, that we're not supposed to do something that takes you more than 30 minutes a day. And so in that 5-hour week, you can do the math. That's how we're kind of structuring the entire week. That might mean you do 45 minutes one day. If you're slower, then maybe the next day takes you 15. It's just kind of that way. We also can't do like a required, everybody must show up at 8 o'clock for this kind of learning thing. What we're talking about now, we're recording so we can post it for other people. But we're supposed to be engaging in what's called asynchronous learning, where the day can be structured the way you want it to be. Like my kids want to do all their work in the morning, so then their afternoon is free. You guys could decide to sleep in and do your work in the afternoon. That's between you and your parents. Okay? So every class should be kind of keeping to this. Now here's what we need help with. We don't really know if this is truly 30 minutes a day. Okay? We're guessing because we can think how long it takes you to read something. But that's different from one student to the next. So what we need feedback from you guys on this week especially, last week doesn't really count. We need feedback on, are we really asking enough or not enough of you? We're giving you too much to do, okay? Last week was not a good barometer because some of you guys hadn't done anything since like mid-February, and you were doing 4 weeks of stuff in 1 week. So don't judge last week as a good barometer of what e-learning is supposed to be. That was playing catch up. Okay. So this week, what we're asking you to do is a 2-part lesson where I'm pointing, and if you're on a cell phone, you probably can't see what I'm pointing at because the screen is small. But number 1 says, watch this video explaining what this week is about. So that video is about 6 minutes of me explaining what I'm going to briefly do here again. Our goal eventually is for you to compare the coronavirus outbreak of now to the Spanish flu outbreak of 1918. So the first part of your lesson, Monday through Wednesday, is just researching the coronavirus. And this can be anything that tweaks your interest in that. If you're more of a science guy and you want to know the pathology of the disease, you could do that. If you're more about entertainment and you want to know the effects of it on the entertainment industry, you could research that. Okay? That's an individual thing. When you're done with your individual thing, when you found your resource that you think this is what I like, this is what I want to know about coronavirus, we're asking you to find some other people, it could be in any humanities class, and share your research with them, and then categorize your research into one of these 6 categories: scientific, cultural, political, demographic, geographic, or economic. It might fit in multiple, but you put it in where it seems to mostly fall. And then the assignment is simple. Put it in this Google form where all you're turning in is your name, what category your research was in, and then are you able to collaborate with other people? And by collaborate, we don't mean together physically, because that would be bad social distancing, virtually. Okay? So what we're doing now is called a Zoom. So if this is easy for you to do, you could Zoom. If Zoom is not your thing, everybody in Frisco should have from their Google account access to these apps that I'm putting up on the screen. Google Meet is like Zoom, it's video conferencing. Google Chat, it used to be called Hangout, and that's just a chat-based platform through Google where you could just type stuff. Okay? So the reason we're asking you these things, what's your first choice, second choice, third choice, or I can't collaborate at all, I got nothing, is because we're also going to ask you, when would you like to collaborate over these 3 days? And it's okay if you put it off till Friday. We're going to go back in and we're going to assign you 2 other people that want to collaborate the same way you do, at the same time you want to, who have coronavirus research that's in a different category than yours. So if yours was scientific, we want to stick you with 2 people that have different categories than science. Hopefully you can see where I'm going. If we're asking you to make a comparison to the Spanish flu, we want that comparison to be in multiple categories, not just a scientific comparison. Okay? Are there any questions in the chat about the first half of the week? What we're asking you to do, the first half of this week. So Chloe asked, are they within the same class period or can they span different classes? You can be with any other 2 people you want. Cross humanities, not randos from art. Okay? So you can group with anybody. Doesn't have to be 4th period alone. Okay?
I heard somebody. Did somebody have a question?
Oh, I had a question. Like, do we have to turn in like research, like type it up somewhere?
Nope.
No. Mm-mm.
Okay.
Now later in the second part, you're going to see this T-chart.
Okay.
And that T-chart is not to turn in either. It's just a place to organize your thoughts.
Okay.
Only thing you're turning in is the stuff that's in this turn in column. And notice they're both Google Forms.
Okay.
Okay? So this little chart, I'll just pull it up for a second. You could use it if you wanted to when you're reading your coronavirus research and you got it picked out, but you're never turning this thing in. Okay?
Yeah.
I'm going to mute you, Avani, just in case. I don't want dogs barking. Like Miss Value's dogs will bark in a second. Okay, so that's the first week. Second part of the week, once I've grouped you, with 2 other people who have different categories. You're going to watch this video that's very short. It introduces a comparison between the Spanish flu and the coronavirus. I think it came out 2 Sunday mornings ago on the CBS Sunday morning news show that now can't even film because they can't be in the same studio together. Not because they don't like each other, but social distancing. And then with your group members, if your article was science, you're going to click where it says here. You'll pull up these Spanish flu sources. And these are articles I compiled from different sources out there that are categorized as either scientific, cultural, political, in those same 6 categories up here. So you're going to read something that correlates to your coronavirus category. So you can make a one-to-one comparison. Okay? Now everybody in your group has a different category. So by the time you're done, one person will have read for one of the 3 categories of your group. And then what we ask you to do together, not to turn in, but together, is organize a comparison in 3 categories between these 2 outbreaks. Because that'll lead you, think of this as pre-writing, I think it's for an essay, that'll lead you to the ultimate assignment to make a thesis as if you were going to write a full-length essay comparing the coronavirus to the Spanish flu. So at the bottom of the assignment sheet, you'll see a prompt that looks like the prompts we've been doing all year. To what extent is the coronavirus outbreak of 2020 similar to the Spanish flu pandemic of 1980? So if you look at my sample thesis here, although outbreaks have a similar global reach, they differ in their mortality rates and government responses. If that was what y'all's research showed, then that would be a perfectly acceptable thesis. All you're writing is a thesis, put your names here, everybody that was in your group, and your thesis here. Turn it in, voila, your week is over. Okay? Any questions about the second part of this week? You can type in the chat or you can unmute yourself and ask the question. Y'all should turn your video on so you can see each other, unless you're like being a naked student.
I know, I was noticing in this class, no one besides us, Mr. Fain, has their video on. Very strange. What?
I could ask them to start their video. Haha.
Is that like still in pajamas, haven't brushed the teeth yet?
Guys haven't put their makeup on.
Yeah, it's right.
I'm asking, but no one's starting their video.
Nobody is starting video.
Shy people.
It's crickets. So it's crickets here in 4th period, which is not usually the case.
All right. So no questions about week 2 or the second part of the week. It makes sense.
You guys be sure and let us know how we're doing on time. We do not want to overload you. We are not trying to stress you out. We're trying to make it interesting and let you all, when we say collaborate, do not get together in person, but find a way to visit with each other virtually or over the phone. And don't hesitate to reach out if you need a thing. We miss you all. We hope we're back soon, but I think right now we just don't know how long this is going to go.
So keep that 30 minutes a day thing in your brain, because you could really, in part 1, researching about the coronavirus, some of y'all could spend like 10 hours doing this, because that's how you are. If you want to, sure, but you have other classes and you have family and you probably have responsibilities like cleaning your house and things like that. So keep those time frames in mind so you don't just sit in front of a computer. As I say in the video that you probably haven't watched yet, but when you do, the idea is also not to like freak you out about coronavirus, because I think when you start reading more about the Spanish flu, you'll see that we have it pretty lucky so far compared to what they did in 1918 and 1919. Okay? All right, so we got 14 minutes before we have to jump out and move to another class. But I wanted to share with sophomores and then freshmen, this applies to you kind of. but for sophomores, the AP exam for this year has changed. As of last Friday, they changed how it's going to be. So I'll post this webpage I'm showing you later. But as you can see here in this bullet, traditional face-to-face exams are not going to happen. Every AP exam, no matter the class, is online, and it's 45 minutes long. They're planning on some schools not being in session, so they're going to have to even have these exams be taken at home. We don't know if that's going to be Frisco yet, because again, we're just closed through April 3rd for now, but the possibility is there that it can be online. Even if we go back to school, the old exam will not exist. It'll be a 45-minute online free response exam. Okay? The dates are going to be different. They're going to offer 2 testing dates. We don't know when these dates are yet. You notice here it says details will be available by April 3rd. So about the time we're thinking about coming back to school if we can, will be the same time College Board says, here are your options for when you can take the test. Okay? Notice it says free response exam. That means no multiple choice questions. It's only writing. And since it's only 45 minutes, it can't probably be a traditional DBQ because those take 55 minutes to an hour. We don't exactly know what this 45 minutes will be. To me, it makes sense to have a couple SAQs over different time periods, but it might even be that. Something else they've done is they've changed exactly what the test is about, because in some states, they haven't been in school since the end of February. So anything that traditionally is taught in March onward, they're not making testing. So this has a chart for every AP class. I'll just kind of show how it's organized because I'm going to scroll down in a second. But this second column after the subject name tells you what the test will cover. Okay? Right now you'll see lots of NAs, but then they'll start popping up and talking about units. Now, unit 1 through 6 doesn't make sense to you because we haven't talked about things like that. But what unit 6 means, or unit 1 through 6 means chronologically, is the only thing testable is 1200 CE, that's the post-classical era, through 1900, which is modern but not the 20th century. So sophomores, that means basically last spring when you were a freshman, the 20th century is not on the test. The test ends with things like industrialization and imperialism. So it's basically the post-classical era, which is this semester that we just finished, through your fall semester of last year. Freshmen, this doesn't apply to you. Next year's exam will be different, probably more like it's supposed to be, and it will be over everything. That's fine because next year is the 20th century for you guys. Okay? So as far as new learning of history goes, next week we'll do a little bit of stuff over the Columbian Exchange, discovery of the New World. But then after that, there's not new history learning. Okay? Doesn't mean we won't do new things, but we won't have, here's a new HAMSCO chapter. We're done with that book because it will take longer than 30 minutes a day to do anything more. I'll leave those resources posted because if you want more information, you can go there. Does anyone have any questions about the AP exams changes? We've got 10 minutes before we got to jump to the next one. Anybody? Bueller? Can we see Miss Valyer's dogs?
Oh, hold on, let me see. Excuse me, I gotta grab one.
Mine weighs 70 pounds, so I can't pick mine up. While we're waiting, do you have any questions about school in general? Oh, there's a dog.
Here's Lucy. Harper is, well, she's coming. She's the one who barks all the time at anything. Yeah.
So as far as grades go
Nice.
from last week that we guys asked you to turn in by midnight yesterday, everything I was given regarding Baroque or chapter reading notes, I've updated half. So if you gave it to me, the grade should be in. I had in the past 2 days, I think close to 200 emails. I didn't respond to ones that were just saying turned it in. So that wasn't to be rude. It was just I can't answer 200 emails. I just answered ones that have questions. And it would be good for us going forward that if you have a question that you're emailing us, kind of put that in the subject line, or we'll just assume you're turning something in. Ms. Value, you got anything?
I don't. No, I think we covered everything here.
You guys have any last questions, or you just want to pop your video on and say hi to each other? We want you guys to see other students. Don't live in isolation. We'll live in isolation, you know what I mean. But be virtually unisolated.
Mr. Fain, get one of your dogs.
Hold on, my computer's plugged in. I don't know how I point down. Let me move this chair. Kane, come here. You see that black mass right there? Jump up. He doesn't like that. Bella, come here. Look at the camera. Did you see their head a little bit? All right. That's all you get. Now they're like, let me go back to sleep, please.
Mr. Fain, they don't want to sit in your lap.
They're 60 and 70 pounds. Not possible.
Yeah. Aw. All right.
If you have any questions, just email us. We'll be around to answer.
Y'all take
Try
care.
to do some of these. We'll do these virtual things like once a week if we can, just to clarify stuff.
Sounds
All right,
good.
guys. Adios.
Bye.